Good evening. It's nice to be with you again, isn't it, Ronnie?
Yes, it is. And in a packed programme tonight, we shall meet an East End docker who has retired after 40 years to take a well-earned job.
Then we'll be talking to a man who crossed a Morse code transmitter with a centipod and got a ... and a very quick dash.
But first, here is the news. The pound had another good day yesterday. It rose sharply at 10 o'clock, had a light breakfast and went for a stroll in the park.
Mr. and Mrs. Wilson won't be visiting the Sillies this year. Instead, Mr. and Mrs. Silly are visiting the Wilsons.
And Mr. Ernest Waldron, a cattle expert who spent his whole life examining the back legs of cows, was given a special award today. Said Mr. Waldron, "This is the first time I've had a pat on the back."
We've just heard today that British Rail have announced a new service for naughty couples going to Brighton. The Have It Away Day.
But now a sketch about ghosts and ghouls, in which I get caught by the ghosties.
And I get caught by surprise.
Over here, I think that, hello?
Hello.
Hello! Hello!
Well, fancy meeting old him here.
Just what I was thinking. I mean, fancy meeting, look who it is.
Who is it?
I'm sorry, I haven't introduced you, have I? This is a terribly old friend of mine, and this is, his wife, you see.
Hello.
How do you do?
Oh, this is my wife.
Oh, how do you do, wife? Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry, of course I haven't introduced you to my wife.
Oh.
The wife.
Yes.
This is his wife. And, this is her husband. Husband and wife. And, of course, this is my wife.
Yes.
And I am her husband. Well, now that we've all met each other, shall we just continue enjoying our drinks?
Yes. Just like old times, isn't it, what?
Huh?
It's just like old times, isn't it? Is it just? I mean, are you still doing what you were doing before that?
Yes, I am. I'm still doing. Are you still doing the same?
No, I finished.
Oh,
yes.
He's finished. He's finished doing the same.
Yes. Well, it was getting a bit much, you know.
Oh, I know, far too much.
Yes, and we did have we had the trouble, didn't we? Yes.
Yes, we heard.
Yes.
I was awfully sorry. Well, actually, we're both very sorry.
What about?
So what about what about you think? What about the trouble? Because we had trouble too.
Oh, yes. Well, there's a lot of it about you.
Oh, yeah.
What's that, dear?
Trouble, dear. There's a lot of trouble. I was just saying to her husband. I was just saying to Jeremy,
Peter.
Peter.
No, not
Peter. Not.
No,
Peter, not, and Mr. Not. Peter, not. No, not Peter. No, not Peter. That's Peter out there. That's Peter out there.
No, that's Jonathan.
That's Jonathan. You're getting confused, dear. That's Jonathan out there. I'm terrible with names myself, you know.
Well, I'm exactly the same, particularly with people I know awfully well. You know.
Yes.
I was just saying to
the wife.
To who? The wife. The wife. That's who I'm saying it to.
Yes.
The wife.
The wife. Hello.
Have you two introduced yourselves?
Introduced ourselves? We've known each other for, what, 5,
10,
15,
20.
20 minutes.
Months.
Months. Yeah. 20 years. 20 years, Malin boy. God, I've known him since he was that high. Well, that high. Well, that low, yes.
Whoa, goodness, we know each other very well.
Oh, yes, we were at Thing together.
Oh, a Thing?
Yes.
For years?
Yeah, 4 years. Was it 4 years? We were at Thing. Yes, we were. Do you remember old
thingy?
Yes, in the
what's?
In the what's it, yes. And the little
Ooja.
Yes. Oh, good heavens, we've known each other intimately for years.
You've never met before?
What do you mean, never met before, you mean? What do you mean, never met before, you mean?
Never.
Well, never, I suppose we've never met before. No, not before this, you mean? No, well, nonsense.
Oh, nonsense.
Rubbish.
Indeed, rubbish.
What's his name?
What's his name? What, him here? That one. What's his name? That's his wife, and this is my wife.
Yes.
And
What's his name?
What's his name? He's, Laryngitis. Aladdin.
no, not.
It's Bob and Harry.
Oh, of course, you remember Bob and Harry, don't you?
You've never met before. Ever. Your wives have met before.
I didn't recognise you, darling. Look, it's this is
And you
Good evening. My name is Albert Fosdyke, and I want to appeal to you tonight on behalf of a cause which is extremely close to my heart, myself. Now, I need a lot more money, and you can help me get it. Why do I need this money? Because I'm suffering from a very serious complaint, laziness. I'm what is known in the medical profession as bone idle. Now, it costs money to run my large, spacious home, Albert Fosdyke House, set in glorious countryside in the Cotswolds. And recently I've opened another home, the Sunshine Home for Albert Fosdyke on the French Riviera. Now, it doesn't run itself, you know. Also, I have a sister establishment on the Costa Brava, and I've established 4 sisters in it, and they're real belters. Now, in addition to this, I also have a wife to support. My very good friend Henry Parkinson's wife. This very week, I am building, at a cost of several £100, a new tradesman's entrance. And that's where you come in. Now, all this costs money. Your money. That's why I'm appealing to you tonight. I just can't make ends meet, and frankly, I'm going to the dogs. And I can't win there either. My health is suffering. Only yesterday, I had a very unpleasant message from my doctor. He said you have less than a month to live, unless you marry my daughter. Now, that sort of thing can be quite a shock. Now, just 2 words about cast-off clothing, warm woolens, and silver paper. No thanks. I have a scheme which I think you will find much more attractive. The pound in your pocket is now only worth 69p. So you send me the pound notes, and I'll send you the 69. How will your money be spent? Well, £100 will go straight away on harbour lights in the 230 Lascaux. And as little as £50 a week will keep me in lobsters the whole week. So please send your contributions, however large, to this address. The Albert Fosdyke Appeal for Albert Fosdyke, care of Her Majesty the Queen, Wandsworth Prison.
London, 1898, a city shrouded in fog. Somewhere within the labyrinths of its narrow streets lurked a madman, ready to bring discomfort and disgust to respectable citizens throughout the city. Already, the Prime Minister's butler had suffered a terrifying attack.
I've never been so...
Our hero, Inspector Corner of the Yard, and the tireless and loyal Sergeant Bowles prepared to pit their wits pitilessly against the Phantom. Where would he strike next? It was at this point that a pattern began to emerge. 3 nights later, at Great Bardling's, Woodstock, the country house of Lady Penelope Berkeley Hunt, whose ancient family was 7th in line of succession to the throne, was the next link in a chain of horror. The manor, a treasure house of heirlooms, was guarded by her ladyship's private police force. It was getting on for midnight, and Lady Penelope was being entertained by her pantryman, Heathcliff.
Well, James, is the silver locked away?
Yes, my lady.
Is the cat out?
Oh, yes, my lady. Out like a light.
Very well, James. Has anyone ever told you that you are very attractive, James?
No, my lady.
I'm not surprised. You're repulsive. Still, it's a lonely life since I lost my little Podgy.
Oh, I think you exaggerate, my lady. You still got quite a lot of podgy, in my opinion.
Thank you, James.
Will that be all, my lady?
No, James.
Very good, my lady. The same as usual.
The same as usual, James. Oh, the candle, James, the candle! Who are you? What's happened, milady?
It must be the shock. Quick, call a witch doctor. Her ladyship's private police force worked tirelessly through the night, questioning suspicious characters.
Here, I want to work with you.
Search went on into the night. Meanwhile, back in Scotland Yard, Inspector Corner sat thinking in the comfort of his own office.
So I was wrong, Bowles. He did strike again. And a person of royal blood. Can't believe it. It's all so pointless.
Oh, sorry, sir.
The shock of the attack turned her ladyship's hair white and her face black. For the time being, she is being held as an illegal immigrant. To work, Bowles. Let's go through the sequence of events in order. Go through the facts. One at a time. Tying things up. Looking for clues. First, take the scene at number 10. The butler answered the door. When the attacker produced his card, he collapsed upon the floor. When the assailant left, he made a most peculiar noise. He shocked the Duchess, man on crutches, and 3 small boys.
Next, Lady P. Barclay Hunt.
Terrible thing.
Horrible stunt. There was her ladyship in bed with nothing at all on her mind. In rushed a terrible creature and attacked her from behind.
Disgusting.
She got a fright, her hair turned white and her face a very dark grey.
The pantry man, Jim. What happened to him?
His ardour faded away.
Jealousy could have been the motive.
Could be a solution.
Both victims jilted him.
He's seeking retribution. Now all we do is find someone who fits the plan.
Someone who fancies a tall brunette and a big fat man.
Once again, the great British police force relentlessly pursued their prey in completely the wrong direction. Not a mile from Scotland Yard in the Houses of Parliament, Mr. Disraeli was having a stormy passage with the opposition at question time.
Mr. Gladstone, I could buy the Suez Canal for your whole family. Believe me, I say I'll get it, I'll get it.
What about the prostitution bill?
Pay it, sir, pay it. Next question.
What is brown, steams, and comes out of cows backwards?
I don't know. What is brown, steams, and comes out the cows backwards?
The Isle of Wight ferry.
All right, Mr. Churchill. If that's the way you want to play it, all I can say is... Oh, my wallet.
Liberals out.
Get your hair cut.
Once again, the phantom was struck. Once again, at someone in the public eye. Respectability was being shattered all over the city. Who would be next to receive a full frontal blast? Who would be next to be exposed to the outrages of the phantom raspberry blower of old London town?
Ladies and gentlemen, Barbara Dixon.
You just want a heart to borrow. Will you love me forever? You say that you will, but I know that you won't tomorrow. 'Cause I read the book and I never looked for fairy tales again. You know I'm out of love with love. It's the one thing I'm tired of thinking of. I've heard enough of the meaning of love. It don't mean a thing when you lose. I've learned how to play and there's nothing to say but goodbye to my rainy days. I'm out of love with love. In a moment of madness, a man can see words that can hurt you forever after. Once it happened to me, but I'm over it now, and I'm trading my tears for laughter. Now I see the signs and the guiding lines. I won't get lost again. You know I'm out of love with love. It's the one thing I'm tired of thinking of. I've heard enough of the meaning of love. It don't mean a thing when you lose. I've learned how to play and there's nothing to say but goodbye to my rainy days. I'm out of love with love. Now I see the signs and the guiding lines. I won't get lost again. You know I'm out of love with love. It's the one thing I'm tired of thinking of. I've heard enough of the meaning of love. It don't mean a thing when you lose. I've learned how to play and there's nothing to say but goodbye to my rainy days. I'm out of love with love. 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 Out of love with love.
Now here is the late news. Police are clamping down on dealers who make fortunes selling stolen cars which have been sawn in half and welded to other vehicles, said Superintendent Hackett from the wheel of his E-type combine harvester today.
News from Hollywood. Zsa Zsa Gabor has announced that owing to illness, she has cancelled all her engagements for 3 months, but her marriages will go ahead as planned.
The president of the Wine Tasters Association today paid tribute to their retiring secretary, Mrs. Prudence Vine. He described her as plucky and full-bodied and well worth laying down for a couple of years.
Later tonight, we'll be interviewing a very sexy interior decorator and his wife who fall out of bed every night because they prefer a matte finish.
But now a sketch featuring Ronnie Corbett, who in fact buys all his suits off the peg at any shop selling Action Man.
Good evening. Tonight in Getaway, we're looking at holidays in Britain through the eyes of an Austrian family over here for their first trip abroad. And our holiday resort this week is Slough, a few miles west of London. Now, a holiday in Slough for 2 weeks could cost you anything from £65 to £320, depending on what you're looking for. And also, of course, on whether you find it or not. Great Western reports.
Slough can be, and often is, described as the back end of beyond, and it was for this reason that our Austrian family, Mr. and Mrs. Daffberger, their daughter Mitzi, and Mrs. Daffberger's brother Frugal, chose it from the travel brochure. They eventually chose 2 weeks at the Acme Fish and Chip Shop in the High Street. It was a cost of £110 each for the fortnight. This holiday is about the middle price range. Before settling on this, they tried 2 others. One at the top price of over £300 in Larch Avenue. This price, of course, £300, was all fun. And she looks as if she knows where to find it. Unfortunately, she only had room for 2. The second alternative was the cheapest in the range, across the road at 41.
Oi, come on in, come on in, come on in.
This one worked out at only £3.25p for the night, with an evening meal thrown in. Slough offers a lot in the way of sightseeing. This gasworks, for instance, which is in the way of everything. But for a few pence, you can pick up a kindly old guide who will show you the town. There are many traditions and ceremonies to be witnessed, such as closing time at the pub on Sunday lunchtime. Traditional British crafts are always of interest, such as road sweeping. Here is an example of how poverty and riches live together side by side, and the respect they have for each other. The Daft Burgers are very fond of mountain sports, and Frugal was determined to pursue his favourite pastime during his fortnight stay. Shopping is always a must for the Daft Burgers, and there are many British curios to be found in the quaint little shops scattered along the winding main street. The whole family seem pleased with their purchases. Mitzi, as you see, has got a pair of wonderful bed warmers. And Frugal, something he has always wanted. And finally, nightlife. Why not dine al fresco at one of the attractive local night watchman's huts? Its gay striped awning and its welcoming charcoal barbecue, which burns through the night and provides a charming setting for your evening meal. Traditional fare of doorstep sandwiches and stewed tea are provided, and these night spots are generously subsidised by your local council. Some sort of cabaret is usually available, though this may be at irregular times. And don't expect to see a great spectacle like the changing of the guard. In Slough, the best you're likely to get is the changing of the drawers.
Well, there you have it. 2 weeks in Slough. Looks good. Finally tonight, the result of our competition, the trip that viewers have voted the trip of the year. And funnily enough, it's Downing Street.
Thank you. This evening, I'd like, if I may, to tell you a story about a chap who was cast ashore on a desert island. Now, oh, by the way, this is not the one about the 2 Irishmen on a desert island, you know, who found a lifeboat and broke it up to make a raft. No, it's not that one. I'm glad it's not that one, really, because, that's a bit ridiculous. No, this is actually about a chap who was a passenger on a flight to New York. And when they started the film, he'd seen it before on the telly, and he was so disgusted he got up and walked out. As soon as he lands in the water, he realises what he's done, you see, and he gets very depressed. Bless my soul, he said, and help. But the people in the airplane, they can't hear him, you see. Well, they're all watching Doris Day and drinking their duty-frees and shouting, "Shut that door." So there he is, being tossed about by the waves, and... Oh, sorry, that reminds me. A little wave, if I may, to my mum and dad. No, I like to do that, because actually my mother, still thinks of me as a wee baby. Well, let's face it, I was a wee baby. I spent the first 2 years of my life on a charm bracelet. Now, that's not exactly true, but if I told you the truth, you'd never believe me. Anyway, and she's very proud of me. Just as I was leaving tonight, she looked at me. Her face was radiant and her eyes were shining. I don't know what she's taking, but I wish I could get some of it. And she turned to my dad, who was sitting there sewing a button on his hat. She said, well, he's had a lot of worry lately. And she said, Ty. She calls him Ty, short for Titanic, because she thinks he's a bit of a disaster. She said, Ty, she said, can this be the same little boy who sang It's My Mother's Birthday Today and won the talent contest at the old Holborn Empire all those years ago? And he said, no, that was Max Bygrave. But I digress. And our hero, you remember, the chap who walked out on Doris Day, well, he has found himself cast ashore on this desert island, you see. 15 years later, he's sitting on the beach, all alone. Nothing but sand and the sea and the sky, Sounds like a summer season at Cleethorpes, actually, but makes you wonder what he lived on for 15 years. Credit, I suppose, like the rest of us. So one day, he's sitting there on the beach with nothing but his roughly hewn bucket and spade and his 8 gramophone records, waiting for the tide to come in and fill his little moat. Suddenly, out of the sea, there appeared an apparition. And he was very, very frightened as it flapped its way up the beach towards him, My God, he said, it's Ronnie Corbett's wife. No, he didn't. No, he didn't say that at all. I just put that in. I really must stop saying nasty things about my wife, And I mean, especially as today is our anniversary. I mustn't, I mean, it's just 12 years ago today when she said, I do. Certainly surprised me because I didn't think she did. Anyway, when it gets nearer, I'm very glad you did. Anyway, when it gets nearer, the apparition turns out to be a beautiful girl wearing a wetsuit, snorkel, and flippers. Well, she removes the snorkel and she says, hello, she says, what are you doing here? He said, well, actually, I am a castaway. He got very, very humble about that. He said, I am a castaway on this desert island. And she said, oh, you poor man. Well, I never. Fancy that. Dog my cats. She didn't say that 4 times, actually, but I like saying it. Dog my cats, you poor man. How long is it since you had a cigarette? He said, well, actually, it's about 15 years, and I'm seriously thinking of giving it up. Starting tomorrow. Whereupon she unzips a pocket of a wetsuit. She's a very big girl. Anyway, and produced a packet of cigarettes. He was overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed, he said. There you are, I told you he was overwhelmed. And she said, Buster, you have seen nothing yet. The best is yet to come, she said. How long since you have a drinky-winky? Well, she unzips the other pocket, you see. Produces a flask. You're making up your own story. He produces a flask of his favourite whiskey. A tear sprung to his eye. Did I tell you he only had one eye? Doesn't matter, Well, it matters to him, but it doesn't matter to us. This is marvellous. This is marvellous, she said. I haven't had a drink or a cigarette in 15 years. Then she started slowly to unzip the front of a wetsuit. She says, how long is it since you played around? He said, good heavens, don't tell me you've got a set of golf clubs in there.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nana Musaka.
Good evening, everybody. It's wonderful to be back on television again. I have only been away for a few months, but I am so glad to find you all sitting here. You are very patient, thank you. My friends in the band are glad to be back also. They are a very friendly group of boys. I am friendly with all of them. One at a time, of course. The first song I would like to sing for you tonight is a story all about a young boy who works in a fairground, who is very sad because no one will visit his stall. All the gay young men walk past with their friends and patronize the swings and the roundabouts and the hoopla stalls. But none of them seem to want to throw things at his coconuts. And he cries out to them, "Why do you not want my coconuts? They are big and hairy and rounded, like a young Greek warrior's arms. Some of them are as big as my head, and others aren't. Look at them as they stand there all in a row. Aren't they lovely? All they need is a flick of the wrist, and they will be yours." The song is called Stormy Weather. But before I sing it to you, let me introduce my special guest this evening, a Frenchman who has delighted so many ladies all over the world by his performance, and I'm sure he will be doing the same tonight. But before that, he has agreed to come on this program and sing for us. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Aznavour.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My dear Nana, it is wonderful to be here. Where are we?
At the BBC in London, Charles.
Of course, you must understand I am in the middle of a lightning world tour. I do not know whether I'm on my head or my heels.
Oh, I thought you were on your knees.
No, dear. You must know, Nana, that it is quality, not quantity, that counts. As this world tour proves, a little can go a long way.
Oh, yes, I've been warned about you.
You think I make love behind your back?
If you do and I get to hear about it, there will be trouble. No, we are only joking, ladies and gentlemen. Charles, what are you going to sing for us tonight?
I'm going to sing a little song called Love Goes Over My Head.
Oh.
As I travel through life in my search for a wife, I am on the lookout for a small one. But of all the sweet girls that I meet in this world, why do I always fall for the tall one? It is not that I'm shy, I can always get by when I'm telling a girl how my heart is. But I soon lose my cool, 'cause you feel such a fool when you take a step ladder to parties. Yes, it has to be said, though I long to be wed, love goes over my head. In a small crowded bar, I met Fifi Lamar, and her eyes held the promise of heaven. But when she left her seat and she rose to her feet, I found she was 6'11". But we walked through the town with rain pouring down, and I knew it would ruin my hair. I had just had it set, but it didn't get wet, 'cause I sheltered beneath her brassiere. Yes, it has to be said, it was just like a shed. It went over my head. Oh, you may say it's fate that I exaggerate when I say love's above and beyond me. In the show business world, I meet all kinds of girls. I have glamour and love thrust upon me. And then after the show, there are girls that will go somewhat further, perhaps, than they ought to. It's no good, I have tried. When we lie side by side, it's just that I've got no one to talk to. Even when I'm in bed, yes, it has to be said, love goes over my head. Love goes over my head.
Thank you, Charles. That was delightful. And now I'd like to sing for you a medley of well-known English songs, translated into Greek for me by my agent, Takis 10% to me. But for those of you who don't understand Greek, there will be special subtitles translated back into English by my good friend, Michael Kopolodidis. Daisy, Daisy. Trisna, taporintina, Argentina, overam la Kenya, tocca quest'indi Bardona, callo pesito mona, ciao semin carampesia, zanete falta lascia, come on the range. Toy pantera, alla samosino verde, ciupe sellera, bersande kera, estum berdindacha etere. C'est pas celle de petit cap, je ne t'ai pas au pesante caposenda. C'est un belanca, c'est tout fino, je ne veux pas à la c'est bye bye blackbird, sta consendo vestida, da geisha. Zunde bella samase, sinto fe, la che kam da be. Taxvittetten schavo histirenia, krasit mose devas in Dalelia. Krumpestinde cavone azovena poteshema. Blackbird, bye bye.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. And now it is time to leave you, Charles. Let us sing together before we go. Have you enjoyed it?
It's wonderful, this thing. It's so nice to come along from the land where we belong. And if you sing a foreign song and no one knows when you go wrong,
Dance with me and Zorba's dance.
you might fall and ruin your chance.
If I do, I fall on you, my little shot of Zorba.
Na, you're so very great to me.
La, 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 you look very weak to me.
Oh, I love grease, axle grease and candle grease.
You're so dainty, want you for my mantelpiece. You gorgeous little Frenchman, will you be my henchman?
Well, it all depends what you want pinching down there.
I love your Gallic manners, wish that you were nanas. I would take you home and have you stop.
That is not of me, chérie, I can't agree, chérie. I'd find that things would get on top of me, but I'm glad to be invited.
I'm quite delighted to have you on the show. And now I really think it's time for us to go.
Let us embrace each other, now we have to part.
And let me clasp you to my heart. Oh, I felt a proper Charlie.
And I felt a right nana. Good night.
Well, that's all for this week. Next week, we shall be talking about resignations by top cabinet ministers. Why haven't there been any?
And we'll be running a competition in Blackpool. Eddie Waring will be buried in sand, and the first kiddie to dig him up will get a thick ear. So it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night. Good night.